Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 45 of the Nutanix Weekly Podcast. My name is Harvey Green. We have Mr. Jirah Cox with us. How are you, Jirah?
Harvey, I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me back.
Wonderful, wonderful. I call you the Nutanix SE extraordinaire. it's an honorary title bestowed upon you for all your engineeringness.
I'm honored. I'm honored. The only reason I don't put that on my business cards is just because they won't let me, refresh until I run out of the old ones. So we'll keep the title between us.
So that's funny. You bring up a good point. When was the first time you ever went through an entire box of business cards?
I'll let you know when it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when I joined Nutanix, it'll be about 4.5 years ago now. I think I'm still working through my first two boxes. And that was all in the first, let's call it 2.5 years of my Nutanix career, because it's been nothing in the last 2 years. Very low rate of business card usage.
Yep. I can agree with that. I have not gotten through an entire box of business cards at this point. Even when I'm giving them out as fast and friendly as I can give them out, I never make it through before something happens and I change titles or get a new phone number.
Well, and fish bowls at restaurants and win the free lunch.
Oh my gosh.
You can tell what each of us kind of uses our business cards more for here.
Winning food. Oh my gosh. Off on a tangent we go, right? So today we're going to talk through the Nutanix blog article by Ms. Lauren Wallman called "What is Hyperconverged Storage?" From February 23rd to a little over a week ago, maybe 2 weeks. My calendar is broken in my head. So
it's recent.
Yeah, it's recent. So we'll hop into this, but we wanted to make sure every once in a while that we throw out I call it Nutanix 101, Nutanix 101 type conversation, so that we, can bring new people in and we don't bore everybody to death. And for all of you tech people who know all of this that we're about to go through, we still won't bore you to death because somehow Jirah will coax me into saying something crazy.
New listeners should be jumping in at any point, right? We gotta bring up to speed.
Absolutely. So we'll jump into it. Mr. Jirah, before we jump into the blog as it's written, why don't you tell everyone out there listening to us what you think hyperconverged storage is?
I've heard of that. It sounds really useful. It sounds awesome. It sounds better than non-hyperconverged storage right off the bat.
Right.
No, so I mean, at a high level, right? If that was a serious question, right? It's about bringing the storage needed for your applications into the same platform where those applications can run, right? Not needing physically separate storage arrays, not needing possibly fully separated out storage management teams, right? Like we're in a period, and by period I mean like the last decade or so, of shifting IT skill sets towards being a generalist, towards being able to being multidisciplinary, not being specialized, siloed. This is my one cog in the giant machine to spin, but being more broadly applicable, broadly skilled to say I can do lots of these different things for lots of reasons, right? Simplification of technology, kind of a democratization of technology across the team, right? The ability to say, I don't have 4 different guys on my team, and one is storage, and one is compute, and one is network, and one is automation. It's like, no, I'd rather have 4 guys, 4 people on the team that can all load balance and substitute for each other and all level up their skill sets together, right? And hyperconverged is, of course, it's how Nutanix does storage as well, but that's how we fit into the larger picture of enabling IT teams, enabling businesses through better storage done more simply for the administrators.
Yes. So I'll make you laugh. All of the people who listen to me for any period of time know that I talk a lot about food, and a lot of my analogies involve food. And I was going to say this is the first time I brought up food in the call, but guess what? It's not. I already talked about winning food with business cards. So I think that was the first reference to food already happened. But I like to liken hyperconverged storage as, of all things, Jirah, the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Right. We're making something, right?
And you know, so people ask me all the time, well, how is it like the kitchen? And I'm like, well, because everything you need is right there. And anytime you need to make a trip, it's to go get something and bring it back right there.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. And if you squint, think back to Phoenix Project, right? The framing story of Phoenix Project is about automation in the manufacturing and auto parts industry. Mm-hmm. But what is a kitchen but a factory for food, right? So it's all about having the right inputs, the right outputs. The kitchen doesn't be a kitchen for its own end goals. The kitchen's there to make food to go sell. That is the product, right? And IT is not there to run technology for its own use cases, right? Be its own ends. IT is there because the factory is making servers and deploying applications and getting these out to users, and that is the actual purpose. So that's why we want to automate, streamline, make that more efficient, because you have to be able to step back, at the 10,000 foot view and say, how are we doing at our job of like answering the business's questions about, may I have a new server, please? Can I do that faster, better, more repeatedly? More automatedly. We shouldn't talk about automation heavily without Andy here. He always leads our automation discussions. So I don't want to forbidden topic. I don't want to steal too much of his automation thunder, but we'll just put a quick little ad there for, Andy does a great job covering automation for us.
All right. So we'll jump in. Lauren defines it here as hyperconverged storage is a part of hyperconverged infrastructure that brings cloud architecture to IT data centers and powers modern enterprise applications, without the need for dedicated storage arrays and storage teams. And so, again, this is kind of like what we've already spoken to. This is the ability to bring everything together without having things that are dedicated storage arrays, dedicated storage teams. If you've listened to us for any amount of time, you know that we talk about how you don't have to have everything siloed. Jirah just talked about that not 30 seconds ago. So again, she's hitting on that as well. It uses distributed storage algorithms to keep data protected, available, and secure at all times. Compared to traditional infrastructure, hyperconverged storage makes it easier for IT admins to manage storage resources and lower cost of ownership, securing better pricing on storage than from public cloud service providers. So again, one of the things that we talk about a lot is how much this is like the cloud, this being the Nutanix infrastructure. And a lot of that is because it was built based on actually cloud foundational type technology. Jirah, for the people who don't know the history of Nutanix, why don't you hit on that really quick?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, right? Some of our earliest stories go back to looking at things like public cloud providers and saying, how do they grow so large and scale so huge and offer these services to their customers, right? Around running virtual machines, offering storage as a service. How do they do that on traditional storage arrays? And the short answer is, trick question, they don't, right? They use software-defined storage, commodity hardware, scale out solutions, right? And primarily, actually, a lot of leverage of open source technology to build their own clouds, which then become public clouds, right? Because they're so huge, right? They're the big three, the big four. And so we bring that same philosophy and a lot of the same technology even to Nutanix and then to our customers, right? Saying we can use generic x86 hardware from basically the vendor of your choice at this point, right? There's almost no hardware option we can't run on. So if you have deep preferences, great. go for it. If you don't, well, guess what? Managing them all looks actually the same on Nutanix, because we can help you, automate and get that cloud-like experience across a broad number of hardware offerings, but then let you do what you need to do with storage for your internal customers, right? To be able to be successful. So I need resilient storage. I need expandable storage. I need data reduction. I need replication. I need snapshotting. I need recovery. All these things that are actually possible even without enterprise storage arrays. They're doable in software, which gives you more scale out, more resiliency, better self-healing, more agility.
Okay, great. So one of the other things too that I wanted you to hit on that you somehow missed in my little easy underhand pitch for
Sorry,
you
you
to knock
teed me
it
up.
out of the park, was kind of a little bit of the origin story around the people who founded it and why they founded it. What was the challenge they were trying to take care of?
Well, obviously I know Harvey, but what?
Of course you do.
But which part is it? We're going to make sure that the audience hears here.
So the piece around it being, we'll say, born out of the cloud. why where the people came from, those things. All right, you're missing all my hints, Mr. Jirah.
Let the record show it's 4:50 on a Monday as we record this.
That's no excuse. So no, just a piece around Nutanix being founded by people who were basically trying to solve the very problem that Jirah was talking through, being able to use cloud technologies to build out faster, based on being able to do that anywhere, not just cloud, but on-prem, but that they came out of the Google Cloud Platform type setup, and founded Nutanix on being able to have that flexibility to do those things internally and externally in public cloud. So, but anyways, just talking through again, being able to take a lot of the technology and the flexibility and I was going to make up a word, scale outedness.
Oh, that's absolutely a word. We're making that word right now.
The scaled outedness, right? And you still take me seriously in the conversation, right? But having the ability.
Technically, there's no change in how seriously I take you in a conversation.
I don't know what that says.
We'll edit all of this out in post to make it sound like you and I are much more on the same page here.
Yeah, I wish that was the case. But the ability to scale out so quickly, but also to the point that's made in the blog article as well, being able to scale out in granular increments, being able to do it largely, being able to do it, smallly. There we go, me and my made up words again. But being able to do it based on what you actually need, and not be, completely tied to, oh, well, I bought the extra large t-shirt size before, so the only way that I can continue to grow is by buying another extra large t-shirt. You've got the ability with Nutanix to be able to, buy the extra large t-shirt to start with, and then say, oh, well, I only need an extra small this time for this workload that we're adding. And, oh, we just went through a merger and acquisition, and now I need 3 XX shirts, right? You can still do whatever you need to do from that standpoint. And technically you're not even limited to t-shirt sizes. It is custom built to whatever you need to host that workload. So Jirah, apparently I'm talking way too much and my mouth is moving faster than my brain.
I think we can all relate to, surprises hit, maybe it's a pandemic, all of a sudden you need way more 2XL shirts. Just me? Okay.
That was good.
That flexibility of what you need when you need it 100% is definitely there.
That's right.
Well, and I mean, connecting that to the first sort of like major bullet point the article calls out about greater flexibility. Like we've helped a customer that was wrestling with like sort of internal procurement timelines and like how do I it's great that I can add on what I want to add on when I need it, but from the day I say I need it, it takes however long to actually get it to actually hit my data center, right? I'll come off the dock and get racked and powered on. We helped them get into a different motion of, well, until you make it a Nutanix node, it's just hardware, right? You can land that hardware at very low cost in advance. So with your next purchase, right, instead of buying 3 nodes, buy like 3 nodes worth of software and buy maybe 2 extra nodes worth of hardware. Let that sit there. And then you can apply licensing to it when you need to use it and expand instantly, right? So that ability to separate hardware and software, gain more flexibility, right? And be able to expand more rapidly and sort of let hardware go through the procurement process when it needs to, but also solve problems for the business. Very, very flexible.
Yes. So we'll get to you've already kind of gone through them, Jirah. the bullet points that she's called out: greater flexibility, cost savings, and less downtime. You kind of already hit greater flexibility for sure. You really hit on cost savings as well, but I'll let you. Do you have anything you want to add to that, sir?
Ironically, yeah, Britt, from the headlines, the call I dropped, the call I was just on to join this one. We were working up some solutions for a customer that needs to knock out a data center migration for both EUC and for server virtualization. And with most kind of moves like that, right? You need some kind of swing gear or something like that to move the nodes you already own. And we actually were outlining what we can take back to them as an option to say, well, if you do this in a phased approach, right? Because they're already considering Nutanix, they already use Nutanix for EUC, they're considering Nutanix for their larger server virtualization environment. And it occurred to us like they could avoid buying even more hardware than they need by just phasing through that, right? There's no reason that the server vert nodes can't run desktops as well. So, very, very fun, flexible options to say, I can land these nodes here. I can replicate desktops to them, move over, then my empty EUC farm can go in a truck, go down the road, move to the new data center, and then evacuate those first nodes that we loaded up. And now they're free to go do the job they were built for, which is to go be my server vert farm. So that ability to sort of like recompose on the fly, add nodes, shrink nodes, but in this case, even like use that flexibility to translate into hard dollar cost savings was really, really cool to see and be able to employ as a migration technology.
Yeah.
So
I'll hit on really quick on less downtime. This is one that I talk about a lot on the podcast as well. But Lauren's got it defined here as automated self-healing and parallel architecture compared to single redundancy with traditional storage arrays. And so my take on that, and my thing that I like to see and talk about all the time is with Nutanix, you've got and as you listen to the blog more, the podcast more, you'll hear us more, but just to give you a very, very rough, what I call a helicopter view, you've got multiple nodes that are all aware of each other. And so the self-healing portion out of that is because everybody who's participating on this team knows where each other is, we'll just say on the court, then it's not a big deal if one person falls down because they know where everybody else is. And so the other piece that's important to that is not only that piece of what happens in terms of the failure, but what happens in terms of normal business as well. When I talk about them being a team and everybody knowing where the other person is, the first thing that you should pull out of that is that everybody is working together. And by that, I mean, if you've got 3 nodes, then all 3 nodes are working together. If you've got 20 nodes, and all 20 nodes are working together. And so your ability to be resilient and self-healing is also increased as you add more to your Nutanix cluster. And so one of the things with traditional storage arrays that you may or may not have seen by now is they've got, one or two team members most of the time that are aware of each other. But as you add more and more and more and more from a storage array standpoint or from a storage capacity standpoint, in a lot of cases, you still have those two team members. And so you're just loading more and more on their backs. And so eventually they either don't perform as best that they could, or everything else, from what you're seeing, is not as good as it can be compared to what happens when everybody is participating and everybody knows about each other. So, Jirah, you have anything you want to add to that?
I think less downtime is tightly coupled with obviously the last point, cost savings around like what's the cost of downtime. So let's have as little of that as possible, right? Like reduce unplanned downtime, but also like less downtime means like fewer fire drills for the team themselves, right? Like we've just got customers all over the place, left, right, and center that would tell you, oh yeah, I found out that drive died when Nutanix support reached out to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have noticed. It's a non-event, right? It's a boring, just another Tuesday kind of event. Now, maybe we should talk about alert monitoring, right? Let's use the automation available to us to say, hey, we can send you like a Teams message or a Slack message or a Zoom message. Like, which one are you on? We can reach you with that kind of alerting. But in terms of like your customers aren't screaming at you, that's a win in our book, right? Like,
how dare you ask me to do more?
do less. I'm with you. Like, let's not open Outlook, right? There's nothing good that comes from checking my email, but I don't mind being in Slack. Send me some alerts there, right? And so like plumb that automation up to say when this alert happens, fire it off and forward it over here to this connector. That's all native in Prism Central, but yeah, like that ability to say, it's a boring event, right? Oh yeah, okay, great. Like it's not if there's 10 drives in the cluster, we're not running in degraded mode with 9. No, let's reheal back to a healthy state of 9. And then when the 10th one comes in, great. That's a cluster expansion activity almost. It's
yes,
it's very boring, very routine. That's what we want from our hardware administration.
That is exactly it. That is exactly it. And I told Jirah I wouldn't do it, but I'm still going to do it. Nutanix for your sanity.
Boom. PM.
I mean, the days of having to pull your hair out because a drive died, or all of that's over. You don't need to do any of that anymore. This is a self-healing architecture here. Again, everybody knows about everybody, but at the same time, you've got all-stars out there at every position. So if one of them falls down, I mean, it's next man up. Like, let's go. We can't allow for failure because we lose one. Everything's already designed for being able to lose one, and in some cases designed to lose more than one, or maybe an entire rack, depending on how big or small your setup is. So definitely helpful for having less downtime, because ultimately downtime is designed into it to be taken care of as a normal activity with the ability to self-heal, like we were just talking through.
Yep. Then just to kind of bring it full circle, right? It's a storage platform that definitely initially 100% handled VM storage, but it's not so tightly coupled that that's all it can do. And that's what we've really seen out of Nutanix for the last couple of years, right? Definitely my whole time here, we've gone from definitely virtual desktops to now virtual servers to, hey, now file servers to now object storage to databases, replication, and even like the one that's maybe perhaps the least intuitive, right? Like giant Nutanix nodes as my backup target platform. Kind of not what people typically first think of when they think of Nutanix as a use case in the data center, right. But why wouldn't I use that kind of less downtime, better cost economics, more flexibility architecture for basically any kind of storage that I want to throw at it?
Absolutely. Now that goes under my category of what else can you do?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's not it's great to have a solution that, fits one need, but when you've got a platform like this, I mean, it's like you get that in and you're like, all right, well, I got that one done. What else can you do? Well, funny you should ask, because, and then there's 1,000 other use cases. So again, that ability to be able to customize the sizing according to what you need becomes extremely important to that, because, maybe you need, this particular workload needs very, very high CPU and, high RAM, but I don't really need that much storage. All right, great. We'll set it up like that. Or maybe it's the exact opposite, the backup case that you were just talking through, Jirah. Maybe we need a whole lot of storage, and it doesn't have to be that fast. Okay, well, we've got that. We've got options for that too. So
yeah,
definitely
bring the hardware you choose.
Yeah. So and then again, that next paragraph, she's got some different use cases down there: server virtualization, databases, VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure. Andy would be here; he'd correct me on that one. Data protection for backup and disaster recovery, branch office deployments. We didn't even talk about that one at all.
That's true.
But again, just being able to have the flexibility of the platform and utilize it to your advantage. I mean, it's a huge advantage that you have there, coming out of what Nutanix has just already built in. So I'll get into the last paragraph in a sec, but Jirah, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I'd probably be remiss to fail to say, like, why would I put all these on Nutanix? We've talked about a lot of technical outcomes, business outcomes. And the last one there, to go back to your point about sanity, Harvey, why wouldn't I cover all of these with like our best in industry support?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we didn't even bring that up either. Again, goes under the category of what else can you do? Right?
If we're talking about 101, why Nutanix, right? Like,
right.
When I can call the same vendor for my backup storage that I do for my primary smoke and database storage and EUC storage, that's pretty cool, right? That's one architecture, one team that I'm getting to know. And by the way, it's the best one in the industry.
Right. And again, hitting on that first bullet point again for support, greater flexibility. Nutanix supports multiple hypervisors, multiple ways to build out the clusters, multiple ways to host it. I mean, that can be private cloud, that can be public cloud, that can be in a colo, a managed service, right? You've got all of these different options. And still, if you have an issue, you can call the same support number, no matter how it's laid out. And support will always start with you and meet you where you are and just continue along that path. So again, the flexibility there and the ability behind Nutanix and their support operation, the way they've built it out, you've got the ability to just call the same number, start with a ticket and a tech, and that person will just continue to work with you throughout what you have. And if for whatever reason they've got to layer in, another company for some reason, like a VMware, for example, they're making sure that you get what you need either way. Even if you call and that's what you had, right? They'll make sure that you're still moving from that perspective. So definitely support organization has been a star, and we continue to see it be a star. And that's why the ratings for Nutanix are so high. Great ad there, Jirah. So at the bottom here, to learn more about hyperconverged storage, you can check out the AOS distributed storage. And there's a link for that. There's also a Nutanix unified storage, and there's a link from that from the blog post as well. But as we always talk about toward the end of our blog post articles, you can test drive hyperconverged storage today on the Nutanix test drive site. So of course there is a link for that as well. But you can go out there, sign up, and actually start using this, and start moving through what it takes to use hyperconverged, what it takes to support it, what the console looks like. Right? You can do all of these things. Again, what else can you do? You can do all of those things on the Nutanix test drive site. You can also feel free to give us a ring here at XenTegra, or reach out to me or Jirah. You see us, we're out. So we'll be happy to go through it with you, have some more customized conversations. How about that? To make sure that you get what you need for wherever your starting point is to wherever your finish point will be.
Love it. So I clicked through the test drive site linked here from the blog post, and it says for a limited time, right, when you take a test drive, Nutanix also donates to a charity as well. So do some good for you, do some good for somebody else.
I love it. Again, what else can you do? So that's great. I guess I don't have anything else. Jirah, you have anything else?
Thanks for tuning in.
I guess it's a wrap. We appreciate you guys listening. Definitely reach out to us with any questions, and we'll look forward to hosting another one next week. We appreciate you joining.
Cool. Talk to you then.
Yep.